Taste Day Tuesday with FCHS. I'm Daryl Minch, Family and Community Health Sciences Educator for Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Somerset County. Today we're going to travel down to Louisiana and we're making shrimp Creole with grits. It's a wonderful way to enjoy the savory flavors of seafood, which I really like, and have that really nice taste of Cajun cooking. So today we're going to use some really simple ingredients. I've pre-chopped everything. We're going to saute things up so that you can see how it's done. To start with, the recipe is really easy. I'm going to post it later. It's very forgiving. You can do lots of different things and change the ingredients up a little bit to suit your needs. We're going to add some andouille sausage. It is a smoked sausage. The link is about this long. You want about a half a cup. I sliced it in half and lengthwise and then in small slices. It's kind of like bacon. It's going to add that smoky taste to the dish, but it's not essential. So we're going to cook this on medium-high heat, and while that's starting to heat up, we're going to talk about the other ingredients. So this recipe uses either a red or green bell pepper. I'm going to add a little bit of jalapeno pepper because I like a little bit more spice. That's not traditional in Creole or Cajun cooking, but I'm adding that to mine. Chopped celery. I'm using some red onion. Yellow onion is fine, whichever one you prefer. I'm using some grated carrot. I grated it because it cooks up a little bit quicker, but you could also chop it nicely. And then some spices that we're going to use. So first we're cooking up the sausage until it starts to brown a little bit, and then we'll remove that. It's not essential. Now, if you are vegetarian or want a vegetarian meal and you don't want to use sausage or the seafood, you could do this. This dish could be made with tofu or some sort of soy protein, like soy protein crumbles, and you'll have that Cajun flavor without the meat or seafood products. You can choose what seafood you use. Today we're going to use a mixture of shrimp, scallops, bay scallops, and cod, but I use whatever I have on hand. A lot of times I just use the shrimp and not the other two ingredients, but sometimes I'll just use cod. You can, or some other white fish. You can use whatever you want. Right, so this is smelling really good, and I'm sure you can see the steam rising in front of my face. Let this brown just a little bit more. Again, this just adds a nice smoky flavor to it, and I'm not using a whole lot. Now, I really like Cajun and Creole foods. I love that warmth of the spices. What's the difference between Creole and Cajun? Well, Creole cooking often has tomatoes in it, and Cajun does not. But other than that, the spices are very similar. The spice profile, I'm using a commercial, the prepared spice mix. One of the problems with that is almost all of them has salt. I used to be able to find one in my local supermarket that didn't have salt, but that one doesn't seem to be available anymore. So do be aware you don't want to add any more extra salt because there's already salt in the spice mix. You could make spice mix yourself. Most of the Creole and Cajun spice mix has a variety of peppers: red, black, cayenne, and white pepper. And then it has some herbs like oregano and basil, maybe some garlic and onion powder. So this is nicely done. I'm going to scrape this out. It's just kind of brown. And there really isn't a lot of fat in here. Turn this down just a little bit. And you can kind of see it's just a little bit browned, but not overly. Now we're going to add just a little bit of oil. Today I'm using a canola oil or some other, not olive oil because the pan's pretty hot. And sometimes I'm using about 2 tablespoons. The olive oil will smoke a little bit more. So we're going to let that go in there. And now we're going to add what in New Orleans they would call the Holy Trinity of vegetables for cooking. So it's celery, onion, and bell pepper. I'm using red bell pepper. And I'm going to add the hot pepper as well. And they call this the Trinity. It's kind of like a mirepoix that you would use in French cooking. Really, most Cajun Creole dishes use this combination. Normally, they're pretty much equal amounts. For this recipe, I'm using more pepper than anything else. And you can use green pepper if you prefer, whatever you have on hand. I'm also going to add in my carrots and show you. These were just shredded. They cook a little faster, but you could just saute them up. And what am I missing? We're going to add the 1 clove of garlic. I love my garlic press. It just makes it really easy. And we're going to add 2 teaspoons of Cajun seasoning. You can adjust how much seasoning according to your likes. I like things spicy, so I have 2 different brands here. I'm using up 1. And I say both of them contain salt. I'm going to keep looking to find the one that doesn't have salt, but now this smells absolutely delicious. Now you want to cook these till they're nice and soft and tender. Usually it takes 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to not do them as long because I'm going to reheat this tonight for dinner. The seafood that's going to go in here in a minute, let me get my tomatoes. Just let that saute just a little bit. So the seafood we're using is shrimp. There are over 300 varieties of shrimp. They come in all different sizes, from really tiny shrimp on up to the really jumbo ones. Shrimp are any of those marine crustaceans that you can buy. I usually keep a bag of frozen large shrimp, usually the ones that are deveined and shelled with the tail on in the freezer, because the price is usually pretty good when it's on sale, and then I can make a quick meal. You want to shell your shrimp. You want to thaw your shrimp overnight. Even shrimp that's sold in the seafood counter that is not frozen has been thawed. Most shrimp, unless you're really near one of the ports where they bring in the harvest, are sold frozen. They're quick frozen or super chilled when they're out with the fishing fleet. So for these, I would just pull off after thawing it overnight, and then you could run them under some cold water. Don't soak. Just pull off the little tails. And this is about ½ a pound of shrimp. Large shrimp are a nice size. You could pick whichever ones you want. You can tell the larger they are, the fewer per pound that you have. These are usually 30-some to 40-some per pound. So if you buy a frozen thing and you go, I don't have a scale, you can count out the approximate number. So now this is pretty much done for the moment. We're going to stir in 1 can of diced tomatoes. I'm using the no salt added tomatoes. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Again, if you have a larger family and you want to double the recipe, it doubles well. You can use fresh diced plum tomatoes if you want. The nice part about the can is A, it's quick and easy when tomatoes aren't in season, but also the diced canned tomatoes tend to hold up a little better during cooking. They don't turn as soft as quickly. So we're just going to bring this up to a nice simmer, and then we're going to add our seafood. We're also going to use bay scallops. Scallops are the muscle part of the scallop mollusk. Bay scallops are smaller, harvested a lot off of Long Island and Cape Cod, and then the sea scallops are larger. So for this, we're using the bay scallops. They can be from maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch or so in size, or maybe a little larger. Again, I bought these frozen. You can buy them thawed in the market or fresh if you're lucky enough to be near the where the seafood comes in. I decided to leave a little bit of the juice in here because I like the flavor, and it'll add more flavor to this. And then the other piece that we're adding is cod. So you need a medium white fish. I cut it into chunks. It does shrink a little, so they're probably 1-inch chunks right now. You want a meaty fish, a little bit thicker, so it holds up in the sauce. Haddock would work. Mahi. Salmon has a stronger flavor, so I probably wouldn't use salmon in this, but whatever, a mild fish. And as I said, sometimes I just make it all with shrimp, and I don't use any other things. So in this goes. The beauty about seafood is it's the original fast food. It does not take long to cook. For this, you probably need no more than about 5 minutes for the fish. You want it to be opaque rather than that translucent type color. So we're just going to let this turn it up a bit. Now this dish could also be done in the microwave oven. I have the directions with the recipe on how to do that. I have done it that way. It's really easy, especially if you just want to make a small amount. Now this dish will serve about 4 people. So you might go, fish is expensive. Well, for this dish, the frozen shrimp that I bought were about $12 a pound, and we used 1/2 pound, so that's about $6. The cod was $8 a pound, and we used 1/2 pound, so that was about $3.50. And the scallops I bought frozen, they were $10 a pound, so I used about 1/4 pound, that's about $2.50. So $12 for the fish, and probably another 3 to 5 on the other ingredients if you don't have them in the house. So for around $15, definitely under $20, you have a seafood meal for a family of 4, which is very reasonable compared to you're going to spend at least $20 a person for many of the seafood recipes out there. Forgot one little ingredient. I'm adding some more thyme. I had some thyme in my garden. It called for a quarter teaspoon of dried thyme. So I used about a teaspoon of the fresh. So far it hasn't, the frost and the cold nights haven't killed off the thyme. Thyme is also in the Creole seasoning, but you just want to add a little bit more for the flavor. So this is cooking up nicely. While this is finishing, let's just talk about the grits. So often I serve this over rice. It certainly could be eaten plain by itself, but I like to serve it with rice. I also like to serve it with grits. I buy quick grits because they're fast. They take about 5 minutes to cook. Grits are corn. The quick grits here are de-germed, so they last longer. If you leave the germ in to maintain the whole grain, it will turn rancid over time because the germ is the fat. So they take that out. It is grits is just a grind of the corn. Polenta, which is also corn, is just a much finer grind of the corn. So for your quick grits, I cooked 4 cups of water. I brought it to a boil. I added 1 cup of the quick grits, stirred it, put a cover on it, and it cooks for about 5 minutes. If you want them a little thicker, you can add, use a little less water, which is what I did for this, so that it'll be a little bit thicker. So I'll just show you these are the grits. I like to make extra because I really enjoy grits for breakfast as a hot cereal. And they reheat really well in the microwave. And they're also good as a side, but they really make a nice base for the shrimp Creole. So we're just about done. I'm sprinkling in some fresh parsley. And this is a really fast meal, so I would say the chopping and preparing the other ingredients takes less than half an hour. Once that's done, you can see how quick the rest of the meal comes together. So let's scoop out some of our meal. I like to serve it in a small bowl, so none of the juices. So we have the grits in the bottom. I'm going to scoop out some of the Creole. And where'd my spoon go? So this is the shrimp Creole. It is a delicious taste in New Orleans. A little bit warmer down there than it is here in New Jersey today. So I hope you'll give the recipe a try. I will post it a little bit later, and enjoy. I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. I won't be on next week, but please stay safe, mask up, social distancing, and enjoy Thanksgiving with your family, whether you're apart or maybe a few of you are able to get together. Have a wonderful day. Bye.